So I had a thought on my mind, right? I always see people talking about like their characters that they like, always talking about the morality of said characters, even the characterization of said characters. But one thing that gets my nuts twisted is whenever people talk about how much they like a character, but they never embody the characteristics of said character. Like, there's a bunch of examples, but here's like some goofy ones. The first person I can think of is like somebody from a seinen series in anime or manga. Let's take Thorfinn for example. People say, "I love Finland Saga. I love Thorfinn," but whole time they really do have enemies. Whole time they really do pick fights with people. Whole time they are complicit with violence inflicted upon others. Ooh, ooh. And speaking of the violence, right? Let's take Punisher for example. You know the kind of people that endorse Punisher, that fuck with Punisher. There's a stereotype, and that stereotype consists of cops, people in the military, people who fuck with both of those, and people who are either inflicting or complicit with violence against innocents. And that's not what the Punisher's about at all. In fact, the Punisher, they would probably call him an anti-hero. A lot of people would, but I like to think he's an anti-villain sometimes. For the sole reason that he doesn't kill innocent people, right? Just ignore the fact that innocent and criminal is completely dependent on what he decides it is in that moment. He picks and chooses. He's not consistent. He doesn't actually follow the law in order to determine illegality. And he even knows that what he's doing isn't necessarily effective because he kills criminals. In order to kill a criminal, they have to have already committed a crime. There has to already have been something done wrong. So you don't prevent the crime and you don't save anyone. And he knows this. There's a Punisher comic where he kills two parents that are recording explicit content that you shouldn't be making with their kids. And after he kills them, after he saves said kids, which I won't lie, he saved them because otherwise their parents would have continued. Here's the caveat though. In that same comic, he looks at those kids and he knows that in the future, he's going to see them again. He understands the cycle of violence. He is not a reflection, he is a consequence of the cycle of violence. Got his family killed, now he kills people. You feel? Another character that gets misrepresented to hell in particular is Batman and Goku. I want to put them together for some reason. Goku, he ain't a bad dad. You already clicked off once I said that. But like a lot of people fail to like consider the fact that, buddy, he's every 4 years there's some maniac who wants to blow up Earth and kill everyone. People neglect to realize that every event that happens in Dragon Ball is a contained moment in time and isn't a reflection of the entire lived experience of those characters. During the time between the 23rd Budokai Tenkaichi and before Raditz showed up, what did Goku do? He just spent time with his family and self-admittedly, he didn't really train all that much. He was too busy having fun with them. Too busy learning that Gohan can blow his head through trees and stuff. Weird nonsense like that. Then Raditz shows up and he dies trying to protect his son. But you guys already get this. A lot of people who say that already understand that stuff, but there's one moment in particular that they point at, and it's Goku giving the Senzu bean to Cell. I'll defend this moment to the day I die because of something that people neglect again to realize, and that's Gohan was quite literally the only person who was capable of standing up to Cell. Think about the scenario that is. Sure, he's 11 years old, but he's also the strongest person there. Nobody else, not even all the Z fighters together, could defeat Cell. Gohan was the only chance he had. Now, Goku, you might understand that too. So Goku giving him the Senzu Bean, Cell, will probably make you think, damn, why did he do that? Gohan would have had a better chance. Now here's where we're going to get into the writing of Dragon Ball, because this has been an ass pull, and I always will think it was a bit of a butt pull. Gohan being pacifistic all of a sudden during that arc is unprecedented to the viewer and unprecedented to Goku as well. Goku had no reason to assume his son didn't want to fight. What has Gohan been doing the entirety of Dragon Ball up until that point? He willingly ran up, went for the fade, and he really chose to do that himself. Nobody made him go to Namek. He did that himself. Nobody made him stand up to Frieza. He did that himself. Nobody made him go back to fighting after getting his neck broken by Raccoon. He did that. Nothing was actually forcing him to. If anything, people didn't want him to. His friends, his guardians, they didn't want him to, and he chose to. When the Saiyans arrived on Earth, he was there. He got his ass beat like 48 million times. He was there. He caught wind that the androids were coming. He chose to train for it. No one even knew at the time that he was going to be stronger than the rest of them. His latent potential, even beyond that point, hadn't been revealed. So imagine somebody gunning for the fade for years at a time, over and over again, and then suddenly they're like, you know what? I am a pacifist. I've decided I can't fight anymore, and I won't. Come on, man. There's no way any of you expected that. And it ain't bad writing, because it serves a purpose for the story, but it is unprecedented. Ass pulls aren't bad, inherently. So, given all of that context, you ain't doing nothing wrong. And you'll think, but Piccolo knew. They chose to write him that way. I don't know what to tell you. In this specific context, they just chose for Piccolo to somehow telepathically precede this unprecedented event. But given all of that, the choice, the information Goku had to go off of was, why wouldn't he want to? They've been training this whole time for that one purpose. Why would he back out now? And he was their only chance. Then Goku staying dead, he gave his reason, and he was right. 7 years straight and none of Goku's enemies that he had or could have had came back for any smoke. Yeah, because he was dead. He did that for their benefit. He was caught between a rock and a hard place. What else was he going to choose? But that's a character a lot of people take away from him. But his real character, somebody that not fights for what's right per se, but has a strict sense of ethics that he goes by, and if somebody violates him, they're getting smoked. Now, don't forget, Goku does kind of let people live if he knows or expects that he'll beat their ass again. Like, villains like Kid Buu, villains like Cell, he was like, y'all gotta go. He went for the kill with those. He didn't spare them like he did Piccolo and Vegeta, because he was expecting that he would be able to take him down a second time. But his actual character, somebody who's of humane values, I don't know how people come to him. Look at this guy. See somebody who's full of compassion, who's full of mercy, who's full of self-restraint, who's full of responsibility, and who's full of curiosity. Compassion, curiosity, and self-responsibility. Those are the three main things that he has. How do people look at him and say, I fuck with Goku because of those things? Then go on to have none of them themselves. And I feel like it's because they see the misrepresentation, the surface level of these characters, and that's what they take away. It would be kind of hard to like somebody even a character that doesn't align with your values. But if you never knew what their real values were and had preordained perceptions of them that already aligned with you, you would probably be more likely to believe it, right? Not believe it, but more likely to like them. They do the same thing to Batman. To a medium extent. Batman doesn't kill. He doesn't do it because he thinks he'll never stop. He doesn't kill because he has a compulsive desire to preserve life. A compulsive desire to preserve life that extends to people who have done wrong as well. When somebody's trauma is death itself, no wonder he does everything he can to prevent and avoid death at all means possible. No wonder he's willing to give jobs, rehabilitate, break the bones of, and self-sacrifice in order to prevent more damage, more death being caused. Why would that guy want to kill? And that's what makes his conflict of interest with Red Hood more interesting. Because it's a compulsive desire to preserve life versus a compulsive desire to kill a person, and the trauma comes from a very, very similar, if not the same place. This two different compulsions over the same person for the same trauma. That's what they got. And that's what makes the conflict of interest interesting. It's not just, I don't kill because I'll never control myself again. You need to kill this guy in particular. It's not like that. I swear it's not like that. But people only see Batman as a guy who beats them up, breaks their bones, and yeah, they really do just see him as a rich guy who uses his wealth in order to abuse people in lower income demographics. And there's a lot of people that still support capitalism, even though, I don't know what to tell you, man. It ain't working. But if you already have preordained beliefs that capitalism is either natural, capital itself is inherent to human nature, then you're not going to see a surface level of rich guy using his wealth to abuse people lower than him financially as a bad thing. And will be more willing to identify with him. Or you'll say his character isn't that deep and do it for all of them. The refusal to analyze leads to misunderstandings and alignments with those who don't actually share the same values. Real people and fictional characters. Art truly does imitate life. Now, since art does truly imitate life, right? You also have to consider who's making the art. There are people who make art that express humane values and then don't have them in real life too. They're making the thing. Detroit Become Human. I'm going there. And I'll use this as a prime example, even though a lot of story games do this. If you know the plot of Detroit Become Human, you know there's an oppressed class that's not seen as sentient, not human, but not sentient. And those people are fighting for their right to be seen as alive, right? Now, you have a game where there's three characters. One who's assimilated into the system and forced to conspire against people who are just like him. You have somebody who's been treated well compared to his cohorts, and his cohorts are slaves. It's a slave who's treated slightly better than other slaves. You know what I'm talking about, it's Marcus. And third, other slaves in this capacity who try to escape to another country where they're more likely to be treated as human. Or sorry, in their case, sentient. I'm concentrating on Marcus's story in particular. I hate particularly when games treat retaliating to targeted violence with violence to defend yourself as a bad thing. That's what gets you the bad ending. A revolution that defends itself against violence with violence. Because if you don't defend yourself physically against someone who's physically trying to hurt you, they'll just continue. If someone doesn't see you as human and wants to kill you, you're not going to reason with that person to make them stop. So there's no reason for it to be seen as a bad thing. It's contradictory to the whole idea in the first place, because no revolution has ever been peaceful in any capacity. They've been disruptive and or violent. Now, the people who make this game, particularly like the creator and the director, they are right-wing MAGA weirdos. They hate the idea of immigration. They believe in like some ethno-superiority. And dude, they support ICE. Specifically, they still support ICE in the face of them killing 2 innocent people, and in the face of them kidnapping children out of their homes, and in the face of deporting more legal citizens than illegal ones, and in the face of illegal immigrants performing more labor and committing less crime on average than natural-born citizens. In the face of all that, they still support ICE. In their game, there would be ICE for the androids. Maybe in Canada, maybe already in the States, but they would be put in detention centers. They'd be reprogrammed. I'm pretty sure they already did that. I can't remember though, like that, if that was in there, but I remember everything else from the game. Kara would be fucked, and Luther, and their girl. She'd be dead, if not detained. These people made this game with these themes and don't support their own creation's ideals in real life. Cognitive dissonance is truly like one of the craziest weapons of humanity. They can be faced with something they believe and deny it. They can be faced with something they don't believe and support it. They can showcase completely different things and rationalize it in their head as, oh, it's different. Cognitive dissonance as a weapon requires exceptions as ammunition. And that's the kind of nonsense I can't stand from people, especially when it comes to art imitating life and the way they treat fictional characters. In the sense, treat them as in how they respond to their values. They ignore them. But that makes sense when you consider that in order to have inhumane values, you have to be detached from humanity, and you have to more than likely lack literacy. Yeah, I'm going there. Media literacy crisis. Most Americans have a reading level of 7th or 8th grade. It's middle school. And the majority of the English-speaking internet sphere is American. Those same Americans that lack literacy have a severe level of functional illiteracy, which means that they can't derive narrative themes from the things that they read. Narratives or themes, sorry. And consider this. That's the safest way to experience new perspectives from other people, from other humans, to develop humanity. There's no expectations of you. There's no one in front of you. There's no time constraint. And you can pick it up and put it down whenever you want. It's convenient. But if these people can't connect with other humans to pull humanity from them, from their perspectives, and the media is also too scary for them, what do they have? Where are they getting their humanity from? Their anecdotal experiences? Who's to say they're digesting those either? Those are real people. And if the media's much too scary for them, then people, not even in the question, way too scary for them. Their lived experiences. If someone's not experiencing humanity from things that they watch, or the people that they know, or the people that they meet, and you combine that with a low level of literacy, functional or not, you get people that vaguely resemble a human but don't have any of the traits to go along with it. They don't have the compassion, they don't have the self-responsibility, and they definitely don't have the curiosity. And that's what lends itself to harmful ideologies. Somebody who doesn't have those three things will love easy perspectives, easy ideas, things that don't require you to digest them. And those harmful ideologies are just that. Easy, scapegoat. Ignore all the nuance. Blame people for individual failures when those failures were influenced by external circumstances. Ignore the circumstances. Blame them. Point the finger at the person in front of them. That's what they do. They point the finger at the person in front of them, but they can't move them to the side and point at the thing behind them. And this, I'm preaching to the choir at this point, because the people who would need to hear that, they clicked off the video a while ago. So if you're still here and still listening to me yap for some goddamn reason, this is for you. Don't argue with these people. Don't debate them. Because they never came to these ideas through reason alone, through rationale, through logic. They didn't. So you can't reason them out of it either. Like, come on. They idolize rapists, murderers, child murderers at that, killing harmless individuals en masse as well. You can't. You really, really cannot reason with somebody like that. If someone doesn't see you as human and wants to kill you, good luck trying to convince them not to. Your words are just going in one ear and out the other, and that knife is going in one side and out the other of you. Or that bullet, if you're where I am. Don't debate them. Don't give them a platform. There's only a select few things you can do, and ignoring them isn't the option. And remember, life imitates art. So if these people have that platform due to debate, they're going to breathe new life into those same old ideas, and those people are going to make art depicting said ideas, and they're going to hurt people. They're going to depict ideas lacking compassion, lacking nuance, and they're not going to have the curiosity to fix it. Hell, even the characters they like that represent the opposite of those things that they believe, that represent the tenets of humanity, the three that I mentioned a billion times already. They see those guys and they still don't see it. They still don't do it. They still don't feel it. So you're definitely not going to do it for them. And they will latch on so quick to any art depicting the evil that they perpetuate, the lack of humanity that they perpetuate. But if you enjoyed listening to that and you don't hate anything I said, I mean anything, you don't get to disagree with me. I appreciate you watching, if that's the case. So, I don't think I have anything else to say. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Good night. Good morning? No one says good morning is a goodbye, but I am. Good morning. And thanks for watching.